there. We continue to work with governments, several governments in Africa, um, Australia, Japan. XDC is actually one of the approved payment methods. Even in Indonesia, it is an approved payment method, or even in Philippines.
Alrighty, everybody, what is going on? Welcome back to another CYPRX video banger. In today's video breakdown, we're going to be diving into the DeFi developments on the XDC network, showing you all that we are entering into an era where we are not going to have to sell our utility digital assets, in this case, XDC, and instead, we are going to be able to put our idle assets to work for us to generate us passive rewards. So with that being said, in today's video breakdown, we're going to be diving into a newly developed protocol being built out that is allowing us as XDC holders to put our liquidity to work to generate us passive rewards. But before we jump into that, I want to really show you guys and paint a clear picture that institutions are 110% interested in these developments and bringing billions of dollars onto DeFi rails. So that way you guys can see that institutions are the ones telling you all that you should be paying attention to these things. So that way you're not manipulated and distracted by the retail crowd on Twitter with zero credentials that have no idea what it is that they're talking about. And so that way we here at CYPRX can show you guys that there are ways that you can steer yourself in the right direction by doing valid research. So before we get into the protocol that allows us now to go out and liquid stake our XDC to earn passive rewards, let's jump in. I want to first show you guys that institutions are 110% telling you all to pay attention, and some of the largest organizations in the game that have actually tested in a proof of concept XDC in the past. So starting here on this post, I said to you guys, the landscape is changing faster than most realize. Liquid staking is live on XDC. Thanks to Prime Numbers Labs, users can now keep their assets liquid, earn native rewards, and integrate with DeFi all in one seamless experience. So that's the platform that we're going to go over towards the end of today's video. Soon, I said, I bet that you'll be able to borrow against your XDC on a lending platform and turn idle assets into powerful working capital. Imagine using a loan you take out on XDC to buy a real estate property, then tokenize that real estate property, which then can generate you yield. And now, on addition to all of that, with Elliptial integration, you can securely access dApps via cold storage, bridging true self-custody with full DeFi functionality. From staking, lending, and borrowing, tokenizing real-world assets, generating yield, and accessing it all through secure Web3 tools, this is a new financial system being built right in front of us. Pay attention. The tools are here and the future is tokenized. And then as always, I just like to provide valid, snapshots or picture proof of where I'm gathering all this information. So here is Prime Numbers Labs, where they mentioned that we are bringing the next era of liquid staking to life together with the XDC network. With XDC liquid staking, we're unlocking a standard where your staked assets stay secure and liquid. Staking, DeFi integration, native rewards are finally all in one experience. We'll get to that in just a second. Then here, Elliptial also mentioned that XDC dApps are now live on Elliptial via Wallet Connect, Tap Connect, sign securely, and explore Web3 on XDC. And then here, this is a panel discussion at the Silicon Valley Summit from June 2025 with a XDC representative. And on his presentation, you can see in the background, it literally mentions yield generation through real estate, right? And so I just find all of that interesting that these developments are starting to pick up on multiple different chains and networks. And XDC is one of the predominant assets in my portfolio. I'm super excited about finally putting my idle XDC to work. And I'm sure some of you guys who have been watching my platform for some time are excited about that as well. Now, we're not going to just go out and dump all of our hard-earned XDC onto these DeFi protocols and start generating yield. That is not how it works. That is why we built the Wealth 28 Club. So we here in this private community can battle test these protocols. We can record it all. We can put our hard-earned digital assets to work, and you guys can watch us do that. So that way you can learn from our mistakes. You can learn from our trials, our tribulations. And we are doing that right now. As we speak, we have a DeFi mentor in the private CYPRX Discord who has been testing this protocol out for about going on 2 weeks now. And you can see he has about 20,000 XDC, I believe, invested onto this protocol. And he has already earned rewards, being paid out, going through the withdrawal process, talking through that live on Zoom calls with our community, so that way our community can learn from his error, so that they don't have to go out and risk their hard-earned capital, which is, again, why it's so important to be a part of a community like the one that we built here in the CYPRX Wealth 28 Club, so you can learn about these things without having to go out and put your digital assets at risk. Okay. Moving on, I want to just go over this post because this is one of those posts where the retail crowd started to use their Twitter fingers and comment, and they just seem super ignorant and uneducated on the current landscape. So I want to clear that air and show you guys, number one, that institutions have put proof of concepts to work with XDC before, that XDC network is working and collaborating with governments, and that financial giants are for a fact interested in utilizing DeFi and are actively right now in the moment building out platforms that allow institutions to generate double-digit yields. So that way nobody is skeptical, and you guys can see physical proof that institutions are 110% doing this, which is why it should motivate you to start to learn how to get your digital assets to work for you. We always like to provide proof here at CYPRX. So I said here in this post, this is from Andre Casterman's LinkedIn profile, we're getting closer. Progressing MLETR adoption with corporates in a scalable way. This is an event, the MLETR seminar that is taking place on Thursday, July 10th. As of time of recording this video breakdown, it is July 7th. I don't know when you're going to see this on YouTube. You might see this on Twitter before July 10th, but definitely come and check this event out. There are going to be corporate testimonials on DNI adoption for the first time with corporates on stage. They're going to be talking about e-bills, bills of lading. Swift is going to be there. Large organizations from all over the globe. It says right down here, featuring representatives from Global T, Commodities, LTD, Lloyd's, Corporate and Institutional, XDC Network, Swift, Casterman Advisory, Anegio, E2, ETR Digital, Mercor, and Wave BL. So very large organizations all sitting on stage talking and discussing about digital trade finance, right? This is going to be huge. I'm definitely going to be paying attention to this. But in the comments on this is where it kind of gets a little bit irritating that people with no credentials come on Twitter and just try to give their opinions without doing actual research. Shout out to Cam here on this because he kind of started the engagement on this post. But right down here, we have this individual user. I'm not going to shout out their Twitter or anything like that. It's not to bash them. It's to clear the air on information that is not valid that's put out on the internet. Okay, so this person here with no, user picture or anything like that and some weird username said that R3 uses XRP as the settlement. And then they mentioned this individual here. I'm not going to give a shout out to the person that they mentioned, said many times that he spoke with R3 and they said that they will only use something that is regulated. And then this individual went down here below to say XDC is not regulated at all. So I'll pause right there and I want to take you over to this event. Think about it. Just because they are not telling you guys that XDC is regulated does not mean that it doesn't have or fall in line to either be regulatory compliant or is already falling in line with regulatory compliance. Because this gentleman on stage from a recent event that was posted 10 days ago from a June Silicon Valley Summit went on to mention that XDC is working with multiple governments around the world. Take a second here and listen.
My team members reach out to Plug and Play to find the best applications, to get the best funds, to get family offices, venture capital, all on the network, all as a part of the chain economy or the settlement layer economy that we are building. Plus, we have our own proprietary fund that invests in companies. So we have already written around 40 to 50 checks for companies who are building various use cases and applications on the XDC network, the settlement layer. We continue to work with governments, several governments in Africa, Australia, Japan. XDC is actually one of the approved payment methods. Even in Indonesia, it is an approved payment method, or even in Philippines.
So he just said that the XDC network is an improved payment method in the Philippines and Indonesia, and he mentioned that they're working with multiple governments around the world, including Africa and Japan. So again, take into consideration what people are saying on the internet compared to what people from the XDC network are actually saying. It just doesn't link up. So this is why you got to do research. You got to expand your way of thinking and not funnel in and listen to people with no credentials on the internet. This person also, again, just to reiterate what they mentioned and not to bash them, it's just to clear the air. Here at CYPRX, we like to provide real research, documented, research that will actually steer you in the right direction. Whoever this person is that they mentioned said many times that they have spoke to R3 and said that they will only use something that is regulated, and XDC is not regulated at all. Well, for them to go out and say that they are not or have never used XDC is again inaccurate. This is directly from xdc.org, and it says, this is again back from a couple years ago, by the way. Enterprise software company R3's Corda network, backed by many of the world's largest banks, is following the general trend towards public-facing blockchains. Announced Tuesday, a group of former RBS bankers, now known as LAB577, is bridging the way for X Exchange and Infinite and Zinfin, a blockchain focused on the trade finance space. Its native token, the Ethereum-compatible XDC, will be used as a settlement coin inside Corda. Okay, well, you can go and you can read the full article on this on the xdc.org website. And then if we come over here, this is a fundamental piece directly from SBI Group back from 2023, where they actually used XDC in a proof of concept. Here you can see that. And again, this is a proof of concept, but here is the diagram of that proof of concept. And right down here, it mentions in the proof of concept experiment, we were able to reconfirm the effectiveness of the characteristics of R3 Corda Bridge and the XDC network's blockchain in actual transactions, resulting in promising outcomes for future developments. So take that into consideration. It almost seems like these people that have like these random accounts on Twitter, they just come on, they yap, they don't really know what they're talking about. And this is exactly why you should be careful as to who you follow. Now, in response to this, I also wanted to go out and mention, and this is where we're going to transition and show you guys that R3 themselves are telling you all what blockchains they're choosing and what they're doing with them. Where I said here, you are aware that R3 recently announced that they are using Solana for Corda settlement. I'm sure it won't be the only blockchain that they use, but to your point, Solana doesn't have regulatory clarity. So it seems like your thesis that R3 will only use something that's regulated is misaligned with outdated information. You got to stay up to date, my friend. The space moves extremely fast. You cannot rely on people who claim that they have conversations with people in the space to build your opinion. You got to tap into updated research. Taking you directly to the source, this was posted on May 22nd from R3, where they mentioned for the first time ever, institutions are using Corda and they will be able to settle directly on a public blockchain. And it mentions that R3 is connecting with Solana to move capital markets to DeFi. And if we come over here directly to the R3 CEO, keep in mind what he just recently said at a GFTN summit that recently took place back in May. Take a second here and listen.
It will create an opportunity for us to take our clients and their assets, which is, it's going to take some time. Although I think, and at least R3's evolving view is that with the regulatory clarity in the US, which we expect to see in the coming months, it will create an opportunity for us to take our clients and their assets, which is, funny enough, we don't even count them, but based on our last surveys, between 10 to 15 billion dollars of real world assets. We do over 1 million transactions a day, and we've been in production on many of our use cases, including running the Italian banking system for over 5 years. But our intention now is to make that available to the DeFi community.
So you guys heard that directly from the R3 CEO. He mentioned that they're trying and attempting to take billions of dollars of their assets and make them available to the DeFi community, and they are connecting capital markets to DeFi through Solana. Now, why am I even mentioning Solana in this particular video breakdown? Because this is the portion of the video breakdown where, before we get into XDC yield generation, possible looping strategies, and liquid staking our XDC, I want to show you guys that institutions utilizing Solana are already doing this. All right. So including R3, who you guys just directly heard from the R3 CEO, and are seeing this announcement from just a month ago from R3 themselves saying that they're moving capital markets to DeFi through Solana. Well, do you guys remember this post where I said to you guys, a historical moment in time? This is worth watching. I put this out to you guys on July 7th, 2025. If we come over here, who is sitting in on this panel discussion where they're telling you guys that they're participating in looping strategies where institutions for the first time in history can access double-digit yields. So who's sitting in on this panel discussion? We have Cindy Lau from Drift. We have Reed, head of institutional DeFi and credit solutions at Securitize. And we have Christine Mori from Apollo. And take a second and listen to what they announced as a historical moment in this digital asset ecosystem for the first time just a month ago. This video, by the way, still only has 430 views.
Thank you so much, Nick, for also being the one bringing all of us here together. It's been a pleasure working with the both of you on bringing ACRET to Solana for the first time.
Absolutely.
So today is actually a very historic moment. Today is the day that Apollo's flagship credit fund is now live and tokenized on Solana via Securitize. So it's the first time ever that an asset like private credit has been publicly available on a permissionless blockchain. And we're also very excited, as the founder of Drift, to announce that we have launched a leverage strategy that boosts private credit yield from 9% to up to 17%. So let's dig into that. Reed, tell me about the process.
So I just wanted you guys to hear more verbal confirmation that now institutions have access to double-digit yields. Now, before, again, we get into the XDC liquid staking, I need to show you guys more physical proof because it can't just come from one source. So the last source that I want to show you guys as to why you all should be paying attention to generating yield with your digital assets through the utilization of DeFi, at least learning about it. Here I said to you guys, a friendly reminder, and I posted this fundamental piece titled Increasing Allocations in a Maturing Market, a 2025 Institutional Investor Digital Asset Survey. As always, setting you guys some of the best and most realist documents in the game. Who was even involved in this survey? So it says here, to better understand how institutional investors think about digital assets, including sentiment, allocations, future expectations, tokenization, and payments, Coinbase, in collaboration with EY, conducted a survey of over 352 institutional investors. We surveyed only large discussion makers, COOs, CEOs, head of transformations, with a mix of respondents who have and are currently invested in digital assets, crypto and stablecoins, and digital asset products like funds, trust, derivatives, and those who have never invested before. And so if we come over here, so now that you guys understand who was surveyed in this survey, it says right here, 84% of institutions are either already utilizing or expressing interest in utilizing stablecoins driven predominantly by goals of portfolio diversification. 76% of firms intend to invest in some form of tokenized assets by 2026, which is only next year. And we also expect to see institutional investors increase core allocations and expand their holdings of altcoins, start to engage more in DeFi. Right there, it says it. Then, last but not least, it says the percentage of respondents that engage with DeFi is set to triple in the next 2 years from 24% to 75%. So hopefully, you guys are viewing this as a wake-up call like, oh my gosh, I do not want to get left behind after the institutions start flooding in, and they are. I just showed you guys physical proof that an R3 CEO sitting on stage said that they're trying to bring billions of dollars on chain so that DeFi users can access it. And they chose Solana. I showed you guys a institutional panel discussion where they announced through Solana institutional ability to generate double-digit yields. So you guys kind of picking up the pieces of the puzzle that I'm laying down for you all right? So I hope that it's all making sense. Back to XDC. I know we got kind of off topic, but the reason why I wanted to display all of that is so that you guys can see institutional proof that this is happening before we get into liquid staking on XDC. So now what we've all been waiting for, let's dive into this platform. Let's read through the documents. Let's understand what this is. Again, if you guys want to see how-to video breakdowns on us entering into liquid staking protocols, you guys want to see how we're getting our digital assets to work for us, you want to talk directly to some of the mentors in the private CYPRX community, head over to CYPRXtrading.com. You guys can always tap in with us in the private CYPRX Discord or through the Wealth 28 Club. You can ask questions directly. We host Zoom calls all throughout the week. You can see his battle-tested strategy through lending and borrowing. You can also see how we are getting our digital assets to work for us. It's such a great community and a great time to be a part of this ever-evolving ecosystem. So diving into this, Prime Numbers Lab said, we are bringing the next era of liquid staking to life together with XDC Network. With XDC liquid staking, we are unlocking a new standard where your staked assets stay secure and liquid. Staking, DeFi integration, native rewards are finally all in one experience. Now, I want to make things clear. I'm very, very conservative and protective over my utility digital assets like XRP, XLM, XDC as an example. So when it comes to this platform, I will not be taking assets that I've had in my cold storage wallet, the XDC that I've had in my cold storage wallet for years now, and be moving this over to this liquid staking protocol. No. What I will be doing is I will start to dollar cost average into some new XDC positions, building a new portfolio that I will be utilizing and implementing in the DeFi ecosystem that has nothing to do with my cold storage bags, right? Building an entirely new portfolio that I utilize via XDC in the DeFi ecosystem, right? To diversify, to make sure that I mitigate my risk, and that I always protect and preserve my wealth long term. Right. So that's just a general idea. You don't have to go out and risk your hard-earned digital assets that are already sitting in your cold storage. You can always build another portfolio, not financial advice, just trying to give you guys an insight into what it is that I'm doing. Moving on, there was also an announcement that I like to see because I personally utilize this as a cold storage solution. It's one of the many cold storage solutions that I utilize, but a new feature drop. XDC DApps are now live on Alipio via Wallet Connect. Tap, connect, sign securely, and explore Web3 on XDC. I'm seeing nobody else on the internet talk about these liquid staking platforms on utility-driven assets that we know and love and have come to hold dear to our hearts over the past consecutive couple of years. Have they just been sitting idle in our cold storage wallets? And now for the first time, we are able to put our liquidity to work. So this is the user interface for Prime staking. I'm not going to thoroughly click through this too much. This is not going to be a how-to video breakdown or tutorial. That'll be reserved for the private CYPRX Wealth 28 Club community, where we'll go over how to enter into positions, walk through the user interface, click open all the tabs on Prime staking. What I want to do for you guys is just read thoroughly through the documents. So here are the Prime staking docs. So what is this platform? How does it work? What is XDC liquid staking? The XDC liquid staking system is the one and only way to stake XDC, offering a simple, accessible path for all XDC holders to earn masternode rewards, similar to Lido Finance. There are no high capital requirements, KYC barriers, or hosting costs, which is phenomenal. That means that anybody in the world with a mobile phone and an internet connection and the ability to purchase small slivers of XDC can participate in liquid staking and yield generation, which I think is phenomenal because it opens up global access to expand wealth phenomenally. How it works: stake and receive PS XDC, Prime Stake XDC, which is the liquid token. When you stake your XDC, you receive an equal amount of PS XDC at a 1-to-1 ratio. PS XDC represents your staked XDC and remains fully liquid. You can trade it or use it in other DeFi applications. It would be so phenomenal if we got a lending and borrowing platform where we could go out and lend our PS XDC out for some more additional yield. Earn rewards by holding PS XDC because PS XDC is directly tied to your staked XDC. Simply holding PS XDC entitles you to masternode rewards, which are paid out in XDC. So I like that you actually get paid out in XDC tokens, which again, our mentor in the private CYPRX Discord has shown a first withdrawal of this platform and how he's snowballing his account, right? Back over here to the documents. Use XDC NFTs for additional staking. You can further stake your PS XDC inside XDC NFTs, which also pay rewards out in XDC. This allows you to earn extra rewards whether you hold PS XDC directly or within these NFTs. You have flexible redemption. To unstake, you can return your PS XDC for XDC on a 1-to-1 basis. This usually does take anywhere between 1 to 32 days. This ensures that you retain liquidity while your original tokens are earning rewards. I want you guys to pay attention to this date separation here because, again, that is why I will be separating my long-term storage bags from my DeFi portfolio, just in case XDC does go to some high-end price and I do want to sell for some stable coins that are going to generate me passive rewards or yield. And, it takes 14 days for the unstaking period or whatever the case may be. I don't want to, not be able to sell my cold storage bags or whatever the case may be. So again, just, diversification is key here. Key features and benefits: access to masternode rewards, earn masternode rewards without running your own node or needing massive capital. No KYC or high entry requirements, low cost and liquidity with PSXDC, where PSXDC, like I mentioned before, can be used across various DeFi services or traded freely while accumulating rewards paid in XDC. So if you were to go out and use your liquid token PSXDC in the DeFi ecosystem, your staked XDC continues to generate yield. So this is just a broad overview of this platform. You guys have the docs here. Definitely go check this platform out. This is not financial advice. I'm not telling you guys to go out there and deploy onto this platform. But what I am asking that you guys go out there and do is you expand your horizon in your way of thinking. You unlock education, you dive into these protocols, you start to read about them, you start to really change your way of thinking when you understand that your digital assets can be working for you, generating you passive income while you wait for some exponential price appreciation to come in the near future. All right. So, as always, bringing you all some of the realest information in the game. I hardly see anybody else on the internet talking about these things and actually going through live trials and tribulations with their own hard earned capital in this space, diving through these DeFi protocols and showing you guys how we are putting our digital assets to work. If you guys are interested in any of that information, head over to CYPRXtrading.com. We'd love to have you on the team. Again, none of this is financial advice. I do not recommend you guys go out there and dive into these DeFi protocols without knowing what you are doing first. Always assess your own personal risk. Always understand that DeFi alone within itself, outside of crypto, inherently brings another extra added layer of risk. And if you don't understand those risk parameters or how to manage that risk properly, you are exposing yourself to a massive amount of unnecessary risk, which is why it's so important that you guys go out there and you start to educate yourselves in the now on what is happening via these new transformative tools and technologies. With all of that in mind, be cognizant out there, be aware, and I will see you guys in the next video breakdown.